go into breakout rooms here in just a moment, and we're going to be using this. And so here's what it looks like. We got our big rock. Okay, so this is what it looks like. And what we have here is I'm asking you to identify a big goal. It doesn't have to be a big goal for the year. It could be a big goal for this month, or it could be a big goal for this quarter, or something aspirational. That's all right. The key here is understanding the motivation, which is in block 2, right? Why is this goal important? Why is it important to you? Why is it important to your business? Why is it important to your team? Why? What's the motivation behind it? Because part of us accomplishing something is there's that teeth in the game mentality, right? I have something that I want to achieve and why I want to achieve it. A lot of times it's because, I want to get my raise, and that's okay. But other times it's because you want to learn something, you want to feel better, you want to be stronger, you want to be better at what you're doing. You want to learn more, right? There's a motivation, there's a why behind it. And a goal written without a why behind it is automatically setting yourselves up for failure, right? So when you can't relate the goal to a motivation, this is where we have issues. Now, you notice that I also put in this block here, it's asking you for a date. Now, this is a date that doesn't necessarily have to be hard and firm like a SMART goal type of date. But as the saying goes, a goal without a date is just a dream, right? So we've got to plug something in for us to guide us towards, so that way we can adjust and we can flex when needed. And then the other part of this is I'm going to ask you all to chunk it down, because a BHAG goal is a big, hairy, audacious goal. And that means then that we have to chunk our goals down. How many of you have written on a to-do list somewhere, something along the lines of start that e-learning project, start the project, right? Or complete the project, or start writing that instructional design module, or start writing this workshop? How many of you have done this, right? Yes, Brenda, goals like clean the whole house. That's not helpful, right? So we have to chunk it down. When you think about cleaning the whole house, you've got to start somewhere. So the chunk then becomes, and I can say this because I got a room over on the other side that needs cleaning out, something horrible. So it becomes clean out that room. Or in this case, it's start the outline for your e-learning module. Start the storyboard, do the first module storyboard, right? So chunking it down into smaller bits makes it more palatable and less, less of a propensity for failure, which is what we're looking for. And so we're going to ask you to chunk this down. Now, each chunk in of itself has steps that you need to complete in order to get the chunk completed. So that way your big, hairy, audacious goal also becomes completed. So you can see this is where we're scaffolding the goals. We're supporting the goals as they work up. When you complete one part with another part with another part, then 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. Then you get to your big, hairy, audacious goal.
We're talking about the scaffolding, and I'm like, okay, so when we're talking about, I'm going to have to clean the entire house, like totally, right? That's completely unreasonable of putting that burden on ourselves, right? So you said chunk it down, just like, again, we try to chunk learning. So then I was listening to you and I'm like, okay, she's totally talking about then in the context of projects, we're talking about like our project gates. And each project, I mean, not 100%, Shannon. I'm not saying that each gate is a goal in and of itself, but you even said then like you can try to break that down and you could scaffold from that. So for me, my how that triggered in my brain, I'm like, oh yeah, because that makes total sense. Is if you think about your project gates, so it's like, okay, so what are these like points? And like, let's go back to, I have to clean the entire house. Okay, so a project gate would be, to your point, okay, cleaning the front bathroom, cleaning the kitchen. And those could be maybe your gates. And then even within each gate, you then said, okay, then like, what are those things then that I need to accomplish to achieve that gate?
Mhm.
That'd be cleaning the toilet, cleaning the bathtub, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, that totally makes sense. So now I guess my question to you, Shannon, is like, so when we're talking about this and we're trying to say that SMART goals set us up for failure,
Mhm.
is thinking about it in the context of like a project gate and then saying what are those smaller tasks that have to be done, like, is that an iterative thought process, and does it take you away from creating a SMART goal, or is there a hiccup in there that I'm not seeing that still becomes in and of itself a SMART goal?
So they're two different things, Erica, and I think this is part of the problem that we have about it. So what we tend to do is we build a SMART plan, and what that does is that has a list of intentions, a list of intended activities that we would like to happen. And the problem is as soon as they then the tire hits the road, then we find that the problems start occurring. And the issue is because we don't build into the SMART plan, which we can do within a BHAG, are implementation intentions. So you can build an intention to implement within a BHAG that you can't do within a SMART goal. For example, implementation intention is built around a model of, if a situation happens, then I will, and whatever the will happens to be. So by building a BHAG and say, right, well, I want this to happen, you're already identifying some of the challenges or some of the things that were going to get in the way, and you can plan around those. A SMART goal or a SMART plan will only ever work on what your intention is, but not necessarily the individual implementation of each of those parts.
Maybe the true identifier between the two is that a BHAG allows you to consider where things could go sideways through
Exactly.
implementation.
Exactly.
Okay.
A BHAG will likely be more context driven, whereas
Yes.
SMART goals tend to be individually driven.
Right. And if you look at the second page of the goal sheet is going to ask you what barriers you might anticipate with each individual chunks, and how are you going to get in front of those barriers?